G'day there guys, Connor here again from Marky Industries, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Okay, we're starting off on True Off My Chest. This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "A planned pregnancy turned my husband into a monster." It feels like a cruel joke. Years before I met my husband, I was in such a toxic, abusive relationship that it almost ended my life. I spent years in therapy, bettering myself, figuring out why I accepted that type of love. I stayed single for years, and once I started dating, I made sure to keep an eye out on all red flags. Heck, I even took things slowly when there was nothing but green flags. Thanks to my ex, I was familiar with love bombing. I met my husband at a work event, and things just fell into place. I opened up and explained my past trauma, and let him know that if we were going to date, that it would require a slow pace and patience. I won't say that he was perfect, but he was always kind, compassionate, and cared. We dated for about 5 years, engaged for 1, and married for a little over 3 years now. We recently bought our second home together. We both got promotions at work, so we sat down and talked about kids. He wanted a big family, and I only wanted 1 or 2. We agreed on 2, and well, started trying. It didn't take long, and here I am, 6 months pregnant, still working, have swollen ankles and a back that won't stop aching. Other than that, I've been very happy, and have what I thought was a supportive husband. 3 weeks ago, I found out that he was having an emotional affair, and honestly, probably a physical one. When confronted with the evidence, he admitted to not being attracted to me while pregnant. I'm wrecked. I haven't gained unnecessary weight. I still take care of myself, even with the morning sickness that hasn't gone away. He's not sorry about it, and he told me that I was being overdramatic when I cried. He's staying with his family until he can find a home to rent. He doesn't want to get a divorce. He's saying after the pregnancy is over, we can go to therapy and fix things. I don't want to. I cannot physically look this man in the eye anymore without feeling disgust. I have a text from him saying that he's my only option because no man wants to date a single mum. I'll be talking to a lawyer and figuring out how to divorce him. I just wanted to vent into the void today. For now, I'm going to DoorDash some nuggets and a Frosty from Wendy's and be okay if I gain 5 pounds from it. Thanks for listening. Well, reading, I suppose. God, first story in, and we're already at a deplorable human being. Let's go to the comments. I swear, these guys deserve an Oscar for hiding their true selves for so long. I would go as no contact if you can, if possible. Stay strong. You don't need that kind of crap in your life. I was a single mum when I met my husband. My friend has 3 kids, 2 with special needs, and found a new man. F him. He is feeding you lies of manipulation and putting blame on you being pregnant. You can do better and deserve better. He's not your only option. Love yourself and your child. Get out now and safely to a healthy and happy relationship with your child. It didn't turn him into one. He was already one and manipulated the situation until he thought you were trapped. Someone offers to buy Opie food. Opie says, "Thank you for the offer. I already ordered my food and I'm stuffed. If you'd like to head over to the free food subreddit and feed someone that's in need, they need it more than I do." Opie responds to a now deleted comment. "I don't think you deserved the amount of dislikes for asking a question. Maybe it was in the way you worded it. Who really knows?" Emotional was how I decided to word it, because what else do I call just talking? He was telling a very young, naive woman how hot she was, how he couldn't wait to touch her body, telling her he loved her, but then claimed they never met. He would complain to her that I wasn't fun anymore. There were obviously pictures sent back and forth due to comments, but the pictures were deleted. I asked him about all his overtime at work, and he couldn't give straight answers, hence the physical aspect of things. This man went from working maybe 40 hours a week to 60, and I may be dealing with pregnancy, but I'm not stupid. You didn't ask this, but I'm putting it here because people have brought it up, and they may read this comment. I would never expect my husband, or whatever you want to call him, to find my changing body attractive. Pregnancy is weird. I think it's beautiful, but he or others don't have to. What I did expect was him to not call me hideous to another woman, or to cheat, especially when I'm growing a life we both wanted. Someone asks, "Why do you have to move?" We bought our home together, and instead of fighting it out, we'll be selling and splitting assets, or at least I hope that's how it will be. Plus, I just don't want to be here in this house. It's too big for just a baby and I, plus the dog he just had to have that's currently curled up in bed with me. Clarification, have you moved out yet? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still in the shared home. He moved out to stay with his family until he finds another place. Yeah, get him out. Opie makes an update 2 days later. I was told I'm not allowed to change the locks due to it being his home as well, and he came over last night knowing there wasn't crap I could do to prevent it. Thankfully, he only grabbed some personal belongings, threatened to take the dogs, he did not, and let me know he emptied our shared account. Part of me rolled my eyes and figured he wasn't dumb enough to do that, and the other part made me make a mental note to check it once he left. Sure enough, our account has maybe $5 in it. He did a transfer which I'll be calling the bank about and speaking to an attorney this afternoon. Thankfully, my dad taught me you don't fully mix finances, so my savings wasn't capable of being touched. And while it's not a lot, it's enough to pay for the fees over the next few weeks. I don't have any family left, so I think he's doing a power play to make me feel like I'm alone and need him, when in all reality, it's lit a fire under my ass that I don't want or need such a garbage person in my life. Thank you to everyone that's reached out with the comments, kind messages, and helpful advice. Another update 3 days later. I wanted to do an update with how many people took the time to send messages, leave comments, and share their own personal stories, which especially helped make me not feel so alone. As mentioned in an edited post, I was not allowed to change the locks on our house due to both of our names being on it. I never feared for my safety, it was more so an annoyance. He showed up to grab some personal belongings, and I thought that would be the most that would happen. It was like he was trying to get a reaction from me. He told me he transferred funds and emptied out the account. I didn't believe him until I saw it myself. That was both of our money, so that's being dealt with currently. He showed up the day before yesterday, completely drunk, begging to talk, increasing in anger when I would just ignore him and walk away. It kept increasing, so I went to grab my bag and walk down the road to a neighbour's home so I wasn't alone. He grabbed my arm to stop me, and when I yanked it away, he slapped me, almost a backhanded open slap. The cops were called. I didn't have a mark on my face, so it was my word versus his. They escorted him off the property, and I'm only now assuming he's back with his parents now. He did throw a fit about the dogs, and does have proof of ownership, so I'm guessing he'll be able to take them. I went to leave to go for a drive to clear my head, after everything, and realised 3 of my 4 tyres were flat. I know it was him, but I don't have proof. Insurance won't cover it, so I'm going to a tyre shop on Friday morning. Just another drop in the bucket. As for the attorney, I've had my consult and I'm waiting for my check to come in for my actual appointment and getting the ball moving on this. There's not any family left, and a few close friends are kept in the loop, but I don't want to burden them or treat them like unpaid therapists, so I think that's why I came back to Reddit. Something therapeutic about just typing it all out into the void. The baby/pregnancy is okay. I've actually lost weight, and the doctor has told me to avoid stressful situations and to take things easy. I'll be calling to see if I can change the locks on the home now, and if not, I'm going to start looking for places. One comment says, it's okay to burden one of your friends, otherwise you could stay in a women's shelter for safety. Opie says, staying with friends isn't possible. A lot are out of state, and a lawyer mentioned abandonment of assets, plus my job and doctor are here. I do have someone coming out and putting up a few cameras, and thankfully the neighbourhood is aware and keeping an eye out. This is all short term, of course, and the goal is to leave. There's just a ton of reasons why that can't be right this moment. Unfortunately, all of my friends are out of state and too far away from my work, doctor, and I was recommended to stay on the property so he couldn't go after me for abandoning the assets. On Opie's best friend. Thank you. While I'm trying to do what I can and stay safe, my friends are on the other side of the US. What we're doing right now is FaceTimes and phone calls. My best friend has outright said if she calls and I don't call back within 5 minutes of our set-up time, she's calling the police. She also put in for some time off of work and wants to come up to help me look at places and just be there in general. I'm not going to lie, I'm struggling in every way possible and I'm scared, but I know I have a support system to lean on. On the cameras. My neighbour has some they're letting me use until I can afford to buy some better ones. They have video but no audio. At this point, I'm glad knowing I'll at least have something. Someone says, I hope you get that money back. Opie says, I really hope so too. He seriously transferred everything but $5 from the checking and the savings, which didn't even have his name on it. The commenter says, wait, how? Yeah, we had a shared laptop and I didn't think he could get into it, but I'm somehow thinking he managed with passwords or something. I've filed a dispute with the bank and they're investigating it, along with a fraud report at the police station. The bank mentioned with it being my husband, they may not approve the dispute, so that's why I went and did a report at the police station. Someone asks about the relationship with the in-laws and can you start the divorce proceedings sooner than the birth. While I would consider it a civil relationship with the in-laws, they are his parents and in their eyes he can do no wrong. He's an only child and they have a very, very close relationship. His mother apologised on his behalf, but asked me to put myself in his shoes. They're choosing to wear blinders to the whole situation. With the divorce, that's the whole attorney thing. I've done a free consultation. The attorney and I agreed with the assets and how things are going. It won't be a mediation, and will be a long, expensive court battle knowing how spiteful he's being. They've recommended a police report on any issue to have it filed, to not block contact with him for proof of harassment, and think the best course of action is selling the property and splitting assets. I'd love to just focus on my pregnancy and myself, but due to safety reasons, I'm staying on top of legal issues. Yeah, if there's one thing I've learned from reading these types of stories all the time, it's that document everything. Seems like Opie's got her wits about her, which is good. Now for another update, 4 days later. He broke in late last night. I was able to contact the police before I confronted him, but due to location, I knew it would be a bit. I tried walking by him to leave the house, but every time I would, he'd shove me, once hard enough to make me stumble and fall backwards. The eerie part is, he never once yelled. He threw things, one of the items hit me, causing an emergency room visit requiring stitches, said the most vile things, that he hated me, I should kill myself, how useless I was, etc., yet never once raised his voice. I'm not saying that in a good way. I wish he would have yelled. It was a fight or flight instinct and I found out mine was to freeze. I hate that for myself. He was arrested and his mother already bailed him out. I'm staying at a hotel thanks to a work advance and looking into apartments. I won't be stepping a foot into that home we shared until my best friend is here, and even then it will be with the police being with us. Nobody can figure out what made him change almost overnight. Only thing I'm guessing is a psychotic break, but I'm not a therapist or doctor. Besides some ugly bruises and some stitches, myself and the baby are fine. My lawyer feels like this is enough to get a protection order for myself and will include the pregnancy and baby. Next time I see him will be at court. Sorry I'm rambling and maybe this doesn't make any sense. For now, I'm safe, can sleep good for the first time in weeks. I have the dogs. Nobody is aware of where I am besides one close person and the police. Final update, I changed my locks. Figured if he'd get the law involved, I'd use pregnancy brain and being forgetful to give him a spare set. Surely after that episode, changing the locks is the least that Opie is allowed to do, right? This guy should not be allowed anywhere near Opie again. Someone asks, could it be a head injury? Opie says, I wish he was hit in the head, Effa deserves it. On a serious note, no, nothing changed. No outside stress, no injuries, nothing that I'm aware of. I know it sounds unbelievable, but once the mask slipped, gloves were off. I think he thought he wanted it, to the point where he tried to believe that it's what he wanted and the right thing to do. It's hard, it's so damn hard. I wish I could hate him, but I just feel sorry for him. That does not mean I'll ever go back, or at this point talk to him without the law involved. I'm choosing myself and the little one, and really it's his loss. One commenter says, can you get an abortion? Opie says, I've had a couple of those comments, so don't take this reply personally, just the one I'm using. Abortion is not in the books for me. I'm not anti-abortion, and I feel like it's a right women should have, and it's heartbreaking what our nation is going through when it comes to women having that stripped away. I'm 6 months pregnant. I can feel her move. I love her. She isn't a fetus to me. She is a baby. If I was 4 to 8 weeks, yeah, maybe it would have been an option, but it isn't now. I'll take every step in making sure we are protected. I will love her enough for the both of us. I will not let her sperm donor have the opportunity to hurt her. Moving forward to another update, 1 week later. Police met me at my home to grab some personal belongings and pretty much anything and everything else I could grab. Thanks to the user who recommended me calling the non-emergency number, it was smooth sailing. He wasn't home. I didn't have the fear of him showing up, and both police officers were very kind. What I walked into, on the other hand, was not very fun. This man looked like he'd went on a bender. Bleach on clothes, food everywhere, personal belongings just destroyed, especially the nursery. I was able to salvage a lot of the bigger items and packed what I could. They're now in storage until I move into my place. I took pictures, and as aggravating as it was, especially with the 1 step forward, 2 steps back, I'm hopeful that there'll just be another thing used against him to prevent custody. As far as him, he has no way of contacting other than attorney or email, and it's been quiet on both ends. His parents have not reached out. I don't even know what I'd say to them if they tried, so no loss there. His girlfriend, yes girlfriend as I found out, has been trying to contact me via friends to let me know she's pregnant. I'm unsure if that's true or not, but that in the very least confirms the affair and how well he kept things hidden. I do want to clear the air. I made a post asking for helpful information on resources that could potentially help, and someone made a comment saying I was in it for a long con, and that's just untrue. I have not and will not accept any personal items or donations other than advice and maybe an internet hug. While I wish my story was made up, it is not. Maybe it's a venting board, maybe it's just connecting with people that have been in the same situation, but it helps keep me sane. Anyway, I'll leave it at thank you all for listening and checking up on me. I'm safe, I'm good. Pregnancy is the only thing kicking my ass, and I'll make sure to make a post in a few months letting you all know she's here and that we made it. Bye for now. Hopeful update. Opie comments more. Oh, trust me, I'm having bad days with it, especially emotionally. I'm sure the hormones aren't helping. I've debated if I turned a blind eye and if there really weren't any red flags. I've had moments where I've missed him, because it's not just a switch. We loved each other, or at least I loved him. This is a person I planned a future and had a past with. It's really just an emotional roller coaster, and that's okay. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to handle all of this, but I'm doing my best. I'm not asking for money, and I'm sorry if it came across that way. I can provide proof and anything else. I've had multiple people reach out and ask if they could help, and I've always turned it down. The only thing I'm asking is for someone to point me in the way of an organization that I may not know of. If that's coming across as that way though, I can and will delete my post if it wasn't my intention. Moving forward another week with a new update. I've read every single message and the majority of the comments. Thank you for sharing your experiences, your advice, your love. More than a few have offered baby items, groceries and gift cards. I cannot in goodwill accept any of those, but if you have items laying around, please consider donating them to a charity that helps homeless parents. One thing that stuck out is someone asked how I could feel sorry for him. I guess I'm an empathetic person, to the point where it could be a flaw. I wish if he was so unhappy he would have just told me. We could have fixed it before it became violent, and if it wasn't fixable, we both could have been amazing parents. His girlfriend that reached out wrote an email in which was forwarded to me. She's saying she's pregnant, and for her sake I hope she's not. She's accusing me of ruining a good man's reputation. She called the injuries self-inflicted, and how they want a paternity test. My personal favourite was if my baby is actually his, she hopes her baby can grow up with her and have a sister. Little does she know I'll go to hell and back to make sure that man does not know anything about my daughter. As for him, I've seen him once while leaving the grocery store. Outside me was calm, cool and collected, acted like he was a stranger I wouldn't give a second look at. On the inside, I said oh crap about 500 times and cried in the car. Money situation is fixed. Work bonus and promotion. I bought a new and better living room suite and have a painting party at the end of the month. You're all invited, by the way. Still good, still safe, slowly learning to love my new normal. If you're in a similar situation or in an abusive relationship, man or woman, reach out. You're not alone. You don't need to be brave. I'm certainly not. You just need that I can't do this anymore to light that fire. One commenter says, I'm a petty Betty and would have posted the girlfriend's text about ruining a good man's reputation right next to all the destruction of the house. Let everyone see what a good man he is. Opie replies, you know petty me wanted to show her the texts, the pictures, everything. I'm going to let him show her himself, because until he does, I'll just be that vindictive lying ex. I was perfect to that man. I poured endless love into our marriage. I spoiled him. I was a best friend, a therapist, and probably his biggest hype man. And if he can leave that, then he can leave anything. There's no bad issues. I want to see her eat, just not at my table type of thing, but I'm treating her just like I do him, like they're nothing but a stranger to me. He doesn't have to go on the birth certificate, and really, after the divorce and court dates, I don't think I'll allow either of them to be a second thought in my head. Yeah, great mentality to have. I'm loving OP's steadfastness throughout this whole thing. Now for another update, 6 months later. Hi, it's been a while since I've posted. Last time I posted I had swollen ankles, waddled, thought every little cramp was a contraction, and felt like life was falling apart. I want to thank everyone who reached out, even months after the fact, just to check in on a stranger. My daughter is here. For privacy, I'm going to leave out her date of birth, but she was 6 pounds, 2 ounces, and the most beautiful head of hair I've seen. She's now got the hairstyle of Danny DeVito. My original posts are still up in case anyone is looking at this with puzzlement, but to say things have been rough would be an understatement. He showed up to the hospital. Thankfully, everyone was aware, and hospital staff handled it properly and perfectly, and I was able to focus on labour and delivery. Unfortunately, the stress of that alone took an already hectic moment in time and amped it up, but things could have been so much worse, and I'm highly thankful they were not. Right now, I've got about 10 different CPS calls. They've come to my house on 4 occasions. His family and him have filed for an emergency custody hearing, and due to leaving the state with my daughter, that did give him a foot in the door. It seems the protective order isn't really helping in that matter. I'm still on maternity leave, so thankfully my focus has fully been on my daughter and collecting all the evidence to make sure he doesn't get any custody other than possibly supervised visits for an hour. My main concern is if he doesn't get any custody, that his parents may do the grandparent route. I wish it was an update to say I'm kicking motherhood's ass and taking names, but most of the time I feel like a burnt out blob. I am in therapy and the doctors are keeping an eye on postpartum depression, yet my doctor thinks a giant hemorrhoid, X, is the cause instead. Don't have an update on the girlfriend of his, have kept the dogs and I think they love the little one just as much as I do. I'm excited and anxious to see where the next chapter of my life will take me. One comment reassures OP and says, don't worry about grandparents' rights. OP says, thank you for this. The rational side of my brain knows that they have a slim to none chance of getting anywhere, yet the exhausted, overstimulated hormones all over the place keep going, what if? So anytime that fear creeps back in, I'll come back to your comment and read it a few times. OP makes another post on her own page with some of the same info but also more detail. Baby is here. Well, honestly, she's been here for a bit, but still a noob at life. She was born with a head full of black hair, 6 pounds 2 ounces, and was alert from the very start. I made an update on True Off My Chest, but making a small one here just in case it gets taken down. Child Protective Services have been called numerous times and came out for a few visits. Everything from I was living in filth to I was leaving the baby home alone to that I was addicted to meth has been said and investigated and proved wrong. I did leave the state, and that got his foot in the door for an emergency custody battle, which will be coming up soon. The protective order was a joke and has been unhelpful. The man showed up to the hospital while I was in labour, but thankfully the hospital staff handled it perfectly. The cops, not so much, but didn't expect it. I think his parents are the biggest push in the custody thing, but I don't think he'll get granted more than a few supervised visits. My main concern is if that happens, his grandparents going after grandparent rights. To protect their reputation, it's highly likely they will. Unfortunately, I don't have an update on his girlfriend. But I did keep the dogs, aka the gruesome twosome, and I think they love the little one just as much as I do. Thank you all for still caring and messaging and checking in months later. It means more than I can say. One comment asks, how did he find out you were in labour so he could show up at the hospital? Do you have a mole feeding him info? Opie says, I'm assuming so, yes. Most likely a co-worker, or at least that's my best guess. Another comment says, I think they probably tried to file for emergency custody claiming that she was kidnapping the baby by moving out of state. Opie replies, exactly what happened. They said kidnapping/fleeing the state. From what I understand from my lawyer, that won't hold, but I am required to do a paternity test since he's not on her birth certificate. Why he gets this chance, I have no clue. It's exhausting and I think it's a control or scare tactic to keep his family happy. I'm going to use this comment to just add in 2 other questions from this post that I can't find. Someone mentioned an AirTag. I called a garage, explained the situation, and they're going to have me drop it off and go over with a fine-tooth comb, so if the person that mentioned that is reading this, a big thank you. As for the co-workers or someone leaking information, I've stayed silent ever since. Finally, I cannot get them in trouble with false accusations with CPS because they're making anonymous reports. I know it's them, my lawyer knows it's them. Heck, at this point, the caseworkers probably know it's them, but legally it's anonymous and they'll just decline saying or reporting anything. Someone mentions take pictures of his destruction. Opie says, thank you so much. I've not kept the pictures personally, but my lawyer has them. Police documents, the texts, the voicemails. I couldn't physically keep them in my home because I would look at them over and over again, trying to figure out what I missed, where it went wrong, what I could have done to prevent it. It made my mental health spiral. Neither of us, the lawyer and I, believe that he has a chance when it comes to custody, but neither one of us thought he'd get his foot in the door as far as he has either. Right now, it's focusing on the baby, the dogs, and keeping my physical and mental health in a good place. So thankful for Reddit and everyone that checks in because it's been therapeutic in a way. Okay folks, and that's the final update so far. As always, I'll keep an eye out for any future ones, but yeah, what a story. Let's read some final comments. Looks like his parents are pieces of crap as well as the husband himself. And for his girlfriend being pregnant too, well, good luck to her. When she said he broke in and wasn't telling, I thought he was going to try and kill her but lost his nerve. What's that statistic about pregnant women's leading cause of death being their partner? I hope he just goes away and never bothers her or the baby. He flipped the switch as soon as he felt he had her trapped because of the baby and sincerely thought that she wouldn't leave him because of it. He was so sure of it that he showed no remorse, dismissed her emotions, and downplayed his actions. He was a bomb waiting to go off, no matter what happened. Sounds very much like something I have second-hand experience with. Turns out it was meth. My story is probably unbelievable for most. I'd like to share it, but I have no idea where. Yeah, that throws an interesting theory in the mix, I think. Maybe the guy spiraled on drugs, if not before, then definitely after. Might explain the aggressiveness, but nonetheless he's a scumbag. Anyway, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll move on to another story. Okay, over on Am I the A-hole, this one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for laughing in my sister-in-law's face when she DNA tested my daughter? I, 30 male, have a daughter who is 6. I'm not biologically related to her at all. There was no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically and were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building, and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families, and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I'd been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care, or around people who didn't have a connection to her biological parents, so I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mum. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago we were all meeting up at my parents' house and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that was Lily's mother. Sister-in-law got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she'd been married, or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My sister-in-law got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an a-hole. I don't feel like the a-hole, especially considering my sister-in-law was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. I'm asking for Reddit opinions, mostly just for validation. So, was I the a-hole? Yeah, definitely not. I mean, the sister might have thought she was doing the right thing, but she went about it completely the wrong way. Like Opie said, parading it up to him in front of his daughter? Like, come on, read the room. She's just mad and frustrated that she got embarrassed because she thought she was some big sleuth or something and then got proven wrong. Let's go to the comments. Someone asks, did the brother's fiancée assume Opie was married to the deceased friend? Opie says, I can see how she assumed that we were together. In the picture, I had my arm around her shoulders. This was before my friend was married to her husband. At the time that picture was taken, they were just friends. I think you're a hero. I'm proud of you. If anything ever happens to me, I know my daughter will be so loved and cared for and raised in a loving household. I hope somehow your friend and Lily's dad are resting peacefully, knowing that she's got a papa that loves her. I'm going back to cutting onions now. Opie says, I appreciate that a lot. I'm doing my best to raise Lily with the values and beliefs her mother and bio dad had and wanted to raise her with, even if some of them differ a bit from my own. Does Opie know what kind of DNA test the sister-in-law took for his daughter? Opie says, I believe they were doing one of those home DNA tests, though I don't know what company they did it through. Not the a-hole. She wanted to stir some crap up. That's a hell of a lot of effort to help. Also, I'd be ticked about how she got Lily's DNA to do this. It didn't go the way she thought it would, so she got mad. Your brother is just trying to side with his soon-to-be wife. Yeah, pretty much how I saw it too. On to an update. My sister-in-law ended up coming to my house and apologizing, as well as telling me the full story. My brother put her up to the DNA test. When I first adopted Lily, my brother for some reason believed that Lily was my biological daughter. He thought that me and Lily's mum were together and just weren't telling anyone. He believes that when she got pregnant, Lily's mum told me that Lily was mine, and that she was going to just say that it was her husband's, and I went along with it because I didn't really want kids. Sister-in-law was under the impression I believed I was Lily's biological dad. She saw the picture of Lily's mum and I, and after asking for clarification on who she was, assumed we were together in it, and then got suspicious when she saw that the other guy in the picture, Lily's actual biological dad, looked a lot like Lily. I also want to clarify, I didn't tell her that Lily's bio dad was in the picture because she had specifically pointed to Lily's mum, and I assumed she knew that Lily was adopted. I didn't know my brother had been telling her lies for nearly 2 years. She got the DNA test out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her with it because he thought it would reveal that I was actually Lily's biological dad. He manipulated her into thinking that it would clear the air of suspicion, when really he was just trying to prove that I was really Lily's bio dad and lying about the reasons for adoption. Well, of course, the results proved I wasn't Lily's biological dad, and that my brother was wrong. My brother felt too embarrassed to confess to his fiancée that he'd lied about the circumstances, which is why sister-in-law confronted me with the results. My sister-in-law also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She told me that her mum had an affair and cheated on her father, got pregnant with another man's kid, and had let her father believe the kid was his. Her father was devastated by this when he found out, and she grew very resentful of women who do that to their spouses. She had wanted to sit me down and talk to me about it without my daughter, but when she saw me with my daughter, she got angry, thinking I was being led on to believe I was raising my daughter when I was actually raising another man's kid, and she ended up exploding and immediately waved the results in my face. My sister-in-law does feel very guilty, and she's angry at my brother for lying to her. I'm not angry at her for doing the tests because she thought she was doing the right thing. I also forgave her for the way she told me about the results, because clearly affairs are a sensitive subject for her, and I can't understand why she would have exploded like that. I'm pretty sure she plans to break up with my brother now, and I don't blame her. When I called and asked my brother about this, he admitted it. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man, who had been against having kids at the time, would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. He told sister-in-law that I was Lily's biological dad and was aware of the fact. He took it a step further and said that me and Lily's mum were together at the time of Lily's conception. Both me and my parents are going low contact with my brother for a while now. I know I will forgive my brother eventually, but I can't do that right now. He believed I was low enough to have an affair with a married woman, get her pregnant, take no responsibility, allow her to pass off the kid as another man's, and then only take responsibility because her mum died. Wow, honestly did not see that coming. Predictions were all wrong there. And yeah, agreed with OP. That's such an insulting thing to assume about your own brother. Some comments ask OP on how Lily is handling all of those. Is she mad at her uncle and his fiancée? OP says she was confused and I had to explain to her what sister-in-law had said in terms she would understand. She was angry sister-in-law would think that low of her mum, and I had to explain that she'd been lied to and didn't think that anymore. She's not mad at sister-in-law anymore, but doesn't want to ever talk to her uncle again. OP on fatherhood since adopting Lily. Oh yes, I can admit that I'm definitely a lot softer since becoming a father. Adopting my daughter made me have to finally be mature, something I wasn't in my 20s when I adopted her. One comment says, both your brother and sister-in-law are getting off too lightly. He butted into your family and lied to his wife, and, sensitive issue or not, she still violated your daughter's privacy, then called her an affair child derisively in front of her. Quote, when I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. Your brother really showing his whole ass here. Your brother was both a terrible sibling and partner. He riled up his fiancée based on her trauma in order to enlist her to help in deceiving you. Awful. Opie says, I really want to stress this point. Took the words right out of my mouth. I'm not mad at my sister-in-law because I know she was manipulated into doing this by my brother. I wish more people could understand that. Okay guys, on to a new update, the final one so far. I don't know if multiple updates are allowed for this sub. If not, take this down and I'll post to my profile. Some people were wondering what happened with my brother and sister-in-law. Well, she dumped him. They tried to make it work, but that only lasted a few days and she ended up giving him the ring back. My brother got crap-faced drunk on my front lawn in the middle of the night. I was ticked because Lily had school the next morning and this woke her up. My brother was yelling insults to both me and my daughter. We called the police and he spent the night in jail for drunken disturbance. I believe the official charge was something like that. I sure as hell pressed charges because he was saying some borderline threatening statements to me and my daughter. I don't think it's enough to qualify for a restraining order, but if it is, I'll get a temporary one. On a more positive note, Lily is doing well. She's getting straight A's in every subject, and is excited about her first ever science project. She's been talking my ear off about it. Send help, lol. And some final comments. Good for you and your daughter. That was such a violation for you two. Unfortunately, the ex has to deal with her own personal demons. They're both sick. It's unfortunate that your brother reacted so poorly to the breakup. It's great that you're prioritizing Lily's well-being and ensuring her safety. Hopefully your brother gets the help he needs to deal with his emotions in a healthier way. I bet now that he knows the daughter isn't biologically related, he doesn't consider her family. I'm calling it. Clearly, Opie and Lily were this guy's real problem all along. Definitely sound logic there. As my stepbrother would say, Opie's brother needs to start his own business and mind it, because what he's doing is broke behaviour. It's nice when the trash takes itself out. Maybe it's me, the brother losing everyone, especially biologically related to him, and getting criminally charged, is fitting punishment for using his ex-fiancée to harass and stress out OP for having an adopted daughter, aka doesn't accept Lily due to not being biologically related to anyone in the family. Opie told his family the facts of the adoption. It isn't his fault that his brother didn't believe him and started this drama. I think that knowing that OP took in an orphan child who wasn't biologically related to him out of the kindness of his heart made the brother feel inferior or a bad person, and instead of addressing it in therapy, he dealt with it by creating false narratives for his fiancée about why OP adopted Lily. If people would just get treatment, just not get involved in other people's business, Reddit would be nearly empty of posts. Yeah, I mean, hard to argue with that logic, but if that were the case, what else would we have to read or listen to go about our day? Anyway, we'll leave that one there. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below. Either way, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.